Section 2 begins on the left edge of Section 1. This is the cast-on edge of Section 1. This is the bind-off edge. So we're going to start right here at the left bind-off corner. Using the main color. We're going to use the main color, which we're going to see the most during Section 2 and 3, and then the accent color is going to come into play in this section. So get your main color, we're going to start with that, and have your accent color wound and ready. We're going to introduce that for this Section 2. Using the main color, we're going to pick up and knit 3 stitches along the corner at the end of this bound-off edge, right here. So if you look closely, there's a stitch there, there's a stitch there. Those were from the rows, those garter stitch rows. 1, 2, 3. We're going to want to go along that third row. 1, 2, 3. We need to get 1, 2, 3 stitches. So I'm going to start by looking here. Skip 1, skip 2. I'm going to start going in here. 1, 2, 3. Get 3 strands of yarn, 3 stitches. Do you see how I did that? Get 3 little single strands of yarn. It doesn't really matter exactly which ones, but try to get it to look like that. And I'm going to slide them onto my needle. So I've got 3 stitches, and I'm going to call this my left needle. So you want it to look just like that. Get 3 at that bound-off corner. Knit those 3 stitches with the main color. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to pick up and knit 3, make 1 18 times. The first 2 stitches we're going to pick up are these main color I-cord stitches. Every stitch we get, we're going to go through both legs of an I-cord row. So when you dive that right needle into that I-cord row that goes towards the wrong side of your work, that's what we're going to pick up and knit. 1, pick up and knit 2, and the third stitch should be your contrast color. Look at that. So here's the I-cord. Don't go into the front. Look towards the wrong side of Section 1. Right there. This is my third stitch. After you pick up and knit 3 stitches, we're going to do a make 1 increase. Twist the yarn and pop it onto the right needle, like that. One more time. Twist the yarn. You could twist it this way. This is a make 1 with a backwards loop cast on. I'm a continental knitter, so when I do a make 1, I have my yarn like this, and I just boop, 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 boom. That's what you want to see for the make 1. All right, let's keep doing that. 3, pick up and knit 3, make 1. Pick up and knit 3, 1, 2, and 3, and make 1. So you could twist it with your right hand like this. That's another way to do that make 1 with the backwards loop, if you hold the yarn in your right hand. 1, 2, going into both legs of each I-cord row. 3, and make 1. A little twist, and pop it onto that right needle, just like that. You don't want it to be a yarn over, you want it to have that little twist so it stays in place. So keep on doing that all the way to the end of the left edge of Section 1. 1, 2, 3, and make 1. 1, 2, 3, and make 1. Keep on going. I'm picking up the 3 for the 18th time. 1, 2, 3, make 1. And after you do that 18 times, pick up and knit 1 more, and then turn to work the wrong side. You can double check your stitch count. You should have 76 total stitches. Now row 2, wrong side. Pick up and knit 3 stitches from the I-cord cast on corner, right here. I'm going to pick up these blue stitches from the I-cord cast on corner. I'm going to get one, get a second blue stitch, and dive in to get a third blue stitch. I'm going to pick them up first. Just get these single blue strands of yarn, any 3 blue strands, pick them up like that, and then slide them onto that left needle. However you get those stitches, just pick them up and get them on that left needle and knit them for the pick up and knit 3. 1, 2, 3. There we go. We have 3 stitches coming from that blue I-cord corner. Knit to last 3 stitches. We're going to do some easy garter stitch with the main color. Knit all the way until you reach the final 3 stitches of the row. Row 2, wrong side. At the end of row 2, slip the last 3 stitches with yarn in front. Rows 3 and 4 are really easy. We're just going to knit to the last 3 stitches and slip 3 with yarn in front, just like what we did. You should have 79 stitches on your needle. Row 3, knit to the last 3 stitches, and row 4 is the same. So keep on knitting rows 3 and 4 in easy garter stitch. I am on row 5 for the short rows. I just worked rows 3 and 4, so I have 2 garter ridges. Row 5, I'm knitting all the way to the last 8 stitches. Once you reach the last 8 stitches, 2, 4, 6, 8, turn to work the wrong side. These are the turns for twists and turns. And as you do that turn, just do a double check. You should be at the skinny end, that cast on edge of section 1. Make sure you picked up off of the correct edge. Your loop should be over here. That cast on edge of section 1 should be over there. Row 5, turn. Knit 5 for row 6. Row 6, we're going to knit 5. 3, 4, 5. Notice I didn't slip or wrap or do anything. I just turned and started knitting. We have a gap. This is called a West Knits shortcut row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Place a stitch marker. Knit to last 3 stitches. Keep on knitting. Row 7, right side, knit to the marker. I'm working row 7 and I'm reaching that stitch marker. Stop, remove the marker, turn to work the wrong side. Turn. So I'm looking at the wrong side for row 8. That was my first turn. I have my 5 stitches, and now this is my new turn. Row 8, wrong side, knit 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Place marker. Place the stitch marker right there. And knit to the last 3 stitches. So that stitch marker is going to mark where we turn each time. So we're going to repeat rows 7 and 8, repeat last 2 rows 12 more times, resulting in 16 garter ridges. So keep on working rows 7 and 8 until over here you can count 16 garter ridges from the beginning of this section. 1, 2, 3, there should be 16. And keep on repeating those easy garter stitch rows, and remember to use those markers where I tell you to place them, because that marks where you turn. Every time you do a short row turn, you're going to be turning 5 stitches earlier each time. You never turn in the same place more than once. That was the first turn, second turn, this will be the next turn, and then the next one will be further away. So follow those rows closely, making a garter stitch short row wedge. I just completed repeating those last 2 rows, rows 7 and 8, 12 more times. You should have 16 garter ridges. Counting these garter ridges along the right edge of your right side, there's the 16th one. And don't place a marker on that final wrong side row, row 8. The last time you do row 8, you should just knit 1, 2, 3, slip 3 with yarn in front. So just knit to the last 3 stitches and you're good to go. Slip those last 3 with yarn in front. This is what your wedge should look like. Keep main color attached. We're going to carry the main color and accent color along the edge as we stripe colors. Using the accent color, twisted rib. Right side, knit to the last 3 stitches while closing the short row gaps. So knit using the accent color and leave a tail. We can weave that in later. As you knit across row 1 right side, knit to a gap, a short row gap, close the gap by picking up a garter ridge and knitting it together with the next stitch. I'm going to do that for every gap. Knit until you reach a gap. Pick up a garter bump with your left needle, going into the bottom of that garter bump. Knit it together with the next stitch. That's how you close the gap. Knitting to the last 3 stitches while closing the short row gaps. Here is another gap. Pick up that garter bump. There's a little bump on the side, which is really tiny. I go into the big bump that's on the top of the work. Knit it together with the next stitch. One more time, do that for every gap. Do you see that gap? It's really obvious right there. That one and then that one. That's where we close the gaps. Knit to the gap, pick up a garter bump, and close it. You should still have 79 stitches at the end of this row. The stitch count doesn't change in this section. At the end of row 1 right side, slip the last 3 stitches with yarn in front. All of those gaps are closed. Row 2, wrong side, knit 4. The yarn is in back to knit 4, 3 and 4. Purl 1 through the back loop, knit 1 to last 3 stitches. Purl 1 through the back loop. The yarn needs to be in front to purl, and instead of going in like this, we're going to go into the back loop like this. Purl 1 through the back loop. And knit 1. Purl 1 through the back loop, right there. Pointy needles help with this purl 1 through the back loop, so if you have some pointy needles, it would be worth trying those out for this section. But if not, if it feels a little tricky to go into that stitch, you could loosen it up first, give it a little tug first, but that right needle needs to go there. Purl through the back loop. Knit 1. All the way to the last 3 stitches. Purl 1 through the back loop. Knit 1. Purl 1 through the back loop. Knit 1. At the end of row 2, wrong side, purl 1 through the back loop, knit 1, slip the last 3 with yarn in front. Row 3, right side. Turn the work. Now we're going to carry the yarns along the edge while striping colors. So we have these 2 attached tails of yarn, the accent color and the main color. Every time you finish a color that you were just knitting with, place that yarn to the left in this direction, and we're going to do a little twist like that. So we're going to place this yarn we just worked to the left, and then take the other tail of yarn to the left. Do you see that little crisscross that just happened there? In other words, we can finish the color that we were just knitting with. We're going to work with it again, but we're going to drop it, and we want to twist it like that. So the color we're not working with, it also comes to the left on top of that accent color. So one more time, we want to get that twist so that we don't have a long float on the wrong side. So we're going to take that yarn we were just knitting with, we are going to drop it to the left, cross that main color, and then bring the accent color up. Basically, it just looks like that. So the color you're not working with, my blue, crosses on top of the accent color. And that's going to lock it into place. Row 3, knit 3, purl 1, knit 1 through the back loop, purl 1 to last 3 stitches. Knit through the back loop and purl 1. Knit through the back loop and purl 1. You want to make sure you get that twisted look to the knit stitches. Purl stitch is regular. Knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, but all the knits are through the back loop. Purl 1, knit 1 through the back loop. Purl 1, all the way to the last 3 stitches. Those are the techniques for rows 3 and 4. We're going to repeat those accent color rows until you have 6 total accent color rows. So you'll be repeating rows 3 and 4 once more, resulting in 6 accent color rows. Don't forget to do that little twist. Every time you're at the beginning of the right side row, you drop the color you just worked and do that little crisscross to twist the strands of yarn. Keep on going, rows 3 and 4. I just finished row 3 and row 4, and I'm going to repeat last 2 rows once more. So take that accent color, and then we're going to twist it like that. So that main color went on top of the accent color, and I'm ready to work row 3 again. 2 more rows I need to work with the accent color. Right side, purl 1, knit 1 through the back loop, purl 1. I'm going to work rows 3 and 4, and then I'll have 6 total accent color rows. When you complete the twisted rib section, it should look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches in a twisted rib column. Drop the accent color to the left, but keep it attached, and bring the main color from below. So that last time you finish the accent color, just drop it down and bring the main color up to knit row 1 garter stitch using main color. Knit 4, knit 1 through the back loop, knit 1 to last 3 stitches. So knit through the back loop in that twisted column, and we're going to knit a plain stitch. Knit through the back, knit 1. Knit 1 through the back, and knit 1. Keep on following this garter stitch section using those same short row techniques from our previous short row wedge, and you'll get a beautiful main color short row accent, a short row wedge. We're going to make 5 of these short row wedges. So keep on following the instructions closely, and it's a lot of knit stitches with your main color. So it's a twisted stitch every other stitch for this row 1, and then we'll get back into our regular garter stitch with the main color. I just finished rows 1 and 2 with the main color, and we're going to do that same crisscross to carry the yarns up along the edge. So drop that main color. We're going to use it again, but we need to do a little twist. So just drop it, and then cross the accent color on top, and then bring it up to knit again for row 3. So we just want to see that little accent color cross on top of the main color like that. Row 3, knit to last 3 stitches using the main color. Those are all the techniques for section 2. You're going to be doing those short row wedges and then 6 rows of the accent color. And then when you carry the yarns up along the edge, look at that. Do you see how you can't see the blue? It gets trapped in that green I-cord. And the same thing with the green. We're going to trap it into the blue I-cord. But you got to do that little crisscross that I just showed you every beginning of the right side row. If that seems a little fiddly to you, or you're confused with that crisscross technique with the ends, with the working yarn tails, then you could just break your accent color and weave in your ends. So that's okay too. If you want to break your accent color and weave in your ends for each accent color stripe, that's totally fine. But try to carry your yarns along the edge, and it's going to look really nice and crisp and clean, hopefully. Section 2. Section 3. We're going to make an identical section to section 2, but we need to do like a mirror image of it. So using the main color and the accent color for this section as well, I'm going to begin with the main color for row 1, garter stitch. Pick up and knit 3 stitches along the I-cord cast-on corner of section 1. That's that blue corner right here. So our loops are at the top. This is the right edge of section 1. That's the cast-on corner. So these blue stitches, I want to get 1 stitch starting right here, and then I'm going to skip a little strand and then go to the next strand, and then I'm going to skip 1 little strand and go to the next blue strand. It doesn't really matter, just get any 3 strands of yarn at that blue cast-on corner. So don't fuss too much about exactly which strand you get, as long as you get 3 strands, and you can slide them or slip them so they're on your left needle looking like this. So you could also pick them up going this way. 1, 2, 3. But get them on the left needle, pick them up, and knit them. Knit 3. So that's the first pick up and knit 3. Now pick up and knit 3, make 1 18 times along that right edge of section 1. The first picked up stitch is going to be this contrast color. We're going to get both legs and then get the next contrast color stitch, get both legs of that stitch that's rolling towards the wrong side. That's number 2. And number 3 will be the first main color I-cord stitch. And then make 1. Let's get 3 more. 1, 2, 3, and make 1. 1, 2, oops, make sure you get that stitch pulled all the way through, and 3. So here there's that strand of yarn that was being carried up along the edge, that blue strand, so you can dive in to get that one as well, or not, it doesn't really matter, as long as you're getting those 2 I-cord strands of yarn. So pick up and knit 3, and then make 1, using the backwards loop cast on. Keep on going all the way to the end. We need to do the pick up and knit 3, make 1 18 times. Oh, did I just go into that one? Yeah, be careful. I just went into that one the last time. And you can tell because my blue yarn is coming from that little light blue contrast color right there. So I need to go into the next one right here. 1, 2, 3, and make 1, and 1, 2, 3, and make 1. Keep on going, following row 1, right side for section 3. At the end of row 1, after you pick up and knit 3, make 1 18 times, pick up and knit 1 final stitch at the end of that right side row. You should have 76 stitches, and then break the main color. slide the stitches to work the next row as another right side row. So I'm sliding all of the stitches, so I'm still looking at the right side, and I'm going to work the right side again because we need to do this in order for it to be like a perfect mirror image to the other section 2. So we have 76 stitches. It should look like this. Slide all the stitches, so your needle tip should be here now. So that's where the circular needle comes in handy. Row 2, right side. Using the main color again, knit the first 3 stitches, knit 3, and then purl to the end of the row. We're working with all of those stitches we just picked up, purling all of the stitches until the end of this right side row. At the end of row 2, right side, we're purling to the end of the row. I just purled that last stitch. Turn to work the wrong side. Row 3. Row 3, wrong side. Pick up and knit 3 stitches along the I-cord bound off corner, right here. So I'm going to first pick up 3 strands of yarn. 1, 2, 3 from that bound off corner of section 1. And just place them onto the left needle. And then you can knit them. 1, 2, and 3. 3 stitches picked up and knit from that bound off corner. Continue to purl to the last 3 stitches. Row 3, wrong side, purling to the last 3 stitches. At the end of row 3, purl to the last 3 stitches, slip the last 3 with the yarn in front. Row 4, right side, knit 3, purl to last 3 stitches. Always slip the last 3 stitches with yarn in front when you reach the last 3 stitches, and we'll be purling in this section. So we're still going to get garter stitch, but by purling to create a mirror image to section 2. Keep on working row 4, and then we'll be doing some short rows for rows 5 and 6. I'll skip ahead and show you those short rows. Short rows, row 5, wrong side. I knit 3 and I'm purling to the last 8 stitches. When you reach the last 8 stitches of the row on the wrong side, 2, 4, 6, 8, turn to work the right side. Row 6, right side. You should see 2 garter ridges on the right side of your work. 1, 2. Row 6, purl 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and place a marker. This is going to be the same kind of stitch marker which marks where you do your short row turns later. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, place marker, and purl to the last 3 stitches. Row 6, right side. Those are the techniques for the short rows, so keep on doing those short row turns, following rows 7 and 8 and repeating them closely. Make sure you pay attention to that stitch marker. It always moves 5 stitches away, 5 more stitches towards that edge. Rows 7 and 8, we're going to repeat those until you have 16 garter ridges. Follow the written instructions closely, and then I'll show you the next technique. I'm working on the last repeat of rows 7 and 8. Row 7, knit 3, purl to marker, remove the marker, and the final time you work row 8, you don't have to place a marker. So the final time you work row 8, you're just going to purl to the last 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and slip those last 3 stitches with yarn in front. 1, 2, 3. So this is what the right side should look like. After you finish repeating rows 7 and 8, you should have 16 garter ridges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 is that last garter ridge that we just purled right there. Now, after you repeat rows 7 and 8, keep the main color attached, and we're going to do some twisted rib using the accent color. On the wrong side, row 1, wrong side, twisted rib. Using the accent color, knit 3, 1, 2, 3, purl to last 3 stitches while closing the short row gaps. When you reach a gap, we're going to pick up a garter bump like we did in section 2 and purl it together with the next stitch. Purl to the last 3 stitches while closing the gap. Here I'm at a short row gap. Pick up that garter bump and purl it together with the next stitch. This is the next gap, and then this is the next one. This is the next one. You can see how big and spacious those are. We're going to purl to the next gap. Here is the gap, and then pick up a garter bump, this big garter bump right there, and purl it together with the next stitch. Keep on following row 1 all the way to the end, and slip those last 3 with yarn in front. I'm at the end of row 2 for the twisted rib. I just did a purl 1, and I'm doing those knit 1 through the back loop, purl 1 stitches. Slip the last 3 with yarn in front. Row 3, wrong side, we can start to carry the yarns along the edge and doing that twist. So every time you're looking at the wrong side, you need to drop that color that you were just working with, and then we're going to crisscross that main color on top of it, and then bring the accent color up again. So we want to see that main color crossing on top of the accent color right there. Row 3, wrong side, knit 4, purl 1 through the back loop, knit 1. These twisted stitches are just like section 2, but pay close attention to your right side and wrong side, and we'll be carrying yarns along the edge when you're looking at the wrong side now. So the yarns will be carrying along this edge. So that will trap them along the I-cord edge, just like section 2. And as long as you do that little crisscross, that little twist of your yarns, crossing the one on top of the other, that's going to lock them into place, lock them into the I-cord edge. Keep on following the instructions closely for section 3, twisted rib and the garter stitch short rows. This is what the finished section 3 should look like for your right short row raise. I was carrying the yarn along the edge sometimes, but sometimes I forgot, so I just broke my yarn. So if you want to break your yarn after each garter stitch, wedge, or twisted rib, accent color stripe, then you can do that, and then you'll just have to poke those ends to the wrong side. So here I forgot to carry my yarns along the edge, so I'm just going to poke them through the wrong side like that. I'm going to take these two as well and take them to the wrong side. And then the right side looks really nice. And then you can take one strand, I'm going to take 2 strands, and just whip stitch these ends in to the wrong side. So if you want to do a little bit of tidy weaving in of the ends, you can go ahead and do that. Do that for about 10 stitches or so, weaving in those ends on the wrong side. And then you'll be really nice and clean for the end of section 3. After you finish section 3, you want to break the main color and the accent color. So both yarns are broken, and place all of the 79 stitches from section 3 onto a spare circular needle. So this is my working needle I'm going to use for the next section. I want to keep that free and place those stitches on a spare circular needle or some waste yarn. You can thread some waste yarn onto your tapestry needle and then thread that through all the live stitches, and they can just hang out until we use them later. So that's the finished section 3. Section 4. We're going to do some cables with section 4. So you need a cable needle in a similar thickness to your working needle. I have my working needle free and ready to go, ready to knit section 4. And we're going to use our contrast color. We're going to pick up stitches along this left edge of section 3, this long I-cord edge. Your 79 stitches should be on a waste yarn or on a spare circular needle from section 3. So we're going to ignore these stitches and do something with those later. And I just want to show you the wrong side of section 3 and what it looks like. I broke my yarn because I forgot to carry my yarn along the edge, but I did remember to carry my yarn along the edge at one point, and this is what it looked like. So if you carried your yarn along the edge of section 3, it should be trapped inside the I-cord. And if it doesn't look like that, it looks invisible on the right side. If it doesn't look like that, if you really see those long strands on the wrong side, then you might want to break your yarn and just weave in the ends. That's what I did most of the time. I just broke my ends, but that's okay. Everything works. Section 4, we're going to begin with the contrast color. We need to knit these 3 I-cord stitches from section 3. I have them on my spare circular needle, so what I'm going to do is just isolate those 3 stitches, and I want to look at the smooth knit side. So I want to knit those 3 stitches looking like this. So you're looking at the smooth side of those 3 stitches and knit 1, 2, and 3. Whatever you need to do to make your work look like that, you might need to put those 3 stitches onto a needle tip so that you can knit them, but knit them just like that. And that was row 1, right side. Knit the 3 I-cord stitches at the top left corner of section 3. I just did that. Pick up and knit 4. The first stitch, I want to go into this first main color stitch right here. So I just knit that stitch, and now I'm going to go into both legs of that stitch and pull a strand of yarn through. For pick up and knit 4, that was number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pick up and knit 1, make 1 8 times. 1, make 1. 2, make 1. 3, make 1. If you're holding the yarn in your right hand, pick up and knit 1. Oops. Pick up and knit 1 and make 1. That was the 4th time that I did it. Pick up and knit 1. Twist the yarn and pop it on the needle for a backwards loop cast on. That was the 5th time. 6, 7, 8. 8 times. Pick up and knit 1, make 1 8 times. Now pick up and knit 3, make 1. 1, 2, and 3. Make 1. You should have 1 more main color I-cord stitch remaining after you pick up and knit 3, make 1. If you don't, then you could go into, the same stitch again, or you could skip a stitch if you need to, but I think most likely some of you might not be seeing that. You might already be at your 3 accent color rows. You should have 1 more I-cord row to pick up. If you don't, then the next stitch you pick up, you can go into, the same strand as you went before. But you should be right here. Pick up and knit 1, make 1 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and 4. that fourth stitch should be the final accent color row. So if you're not where I am, then again, you can go into the same stitch. You can pick up into the same stitch to get back on track. Like maybe that's your next one so that you can get to the point where I'm at. But that was pick up and knit 4, make 1. Or sorry, pick up and knit 1, make 1 4 times. Pick up and knit 4. Going into the main color. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pick up and knit 1, make 1 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. We're going to repeat from asterisk 3 more times. That means I need to pick up and knit 3, make 1. 1, 2, 3, and make 1. Pick up and knit 1, make 1 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So keep on following the row, picking up the stitches. Pay really close attention to the row as you pick up. And don't worry too much, like I was showing you where I was in the pickup. If you're not exactly going into the same stitch I was going, it's okay, as long as it looks something like this. Just keep on going, picking up your stitches, and I'll meet you at the end of the pickup row. I'm reaching the end of my pickup row on row 1, right side. I just did the final pick up and knit 1, make 1 8 times. Now I need to pick up and knit 3, make 1 at the end of row 1. 1, 2, and 3, make 1. And then I need to pick up and knit 1 final stitch. So I should be at the end. I'm just going to pick up something here in the corner. So just dive in and get something. I'm going to get those strands right there for 1 final stitch, and you should be right here. If you're not, then you can skip a stitch or pick up into the same strand as you did before, as long as you've got all these stitches on your needle. And then the very last thing we're going to do is slip 1 picked up I-cord stitch from the bound off edge of section 1 with yarn in front. Okay, what the heck does that mean? First, just bring the yarn forward, and then we're going to pick up an I-cord stitch from the wrong side. We're going to do that right here. So this is the bind off, the wrong side of the bind off, and you see all those bound off stitches from section 1? Just get the first one that you see and get both legs of it, just like that. Slip 1. That counts as 1 stitch with the yarn in front. Make sure your work looks just like that. Including that picked up stitch, you should have 157 stitches on your needle. So do a stitch count check and be real careful counting 157. If you have 156 or 158, then during the next wrong side row, then just sneak in an extra increase or decrease anywhere, okay? It's going to be fine. All right, row 2, wrong side. Knit 2 together. We're going to knit that picked up stitch together with our contrast color stitch. Just like that. Knit 2 together. Knit 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Purl 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we have some instructions inside parentheses. That means we're going to repeat all those instructions 4 times. Purl 8, knit 4, purl 16, knit 4. We're going to do that 4 times. So follow the row closely. We're going to purl 8, keep on following row 2, all the way to the end of the row, and I'll meet you at the end of row 2. I'm at the end of row 2. I just did my final purl 16, and I need to knit 4, and then slip 3 with yarn in front. As you're knitting the last 4 stitches that you have to knit, you should have 3 stitches remaining. If that's not the case, then you could do an extra make one increase like that if you're missing a stitch. So just pick up and make one, get an extra stitch on the needle, or if you have too many stitches, you could do a knit 2 together. As long as you end with 1, 2, 3, 4 knit stitches, followed by slip 3 with yarn in front. So I just purled 16. You should have 1, 2, 3, 4 knit stitches. Slip those last 3 stitches with yarn in front. It's okay to do an extra increase or decrease to get back on track. You should have 156 stitches at the end of row 2. So if you want to count and give yourself a little count and make sure you were knitting and purling the right stitches, pay close attention during these first rows, and I promise it gets easier once we see the beautiful cables and columns form. Row 3, right side, knit 3, purl 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Knit 16. 1, 2, 3, 4. You should be knitting the same stitches that are smooth knit stitches. So we're going to be making smooth knit columns and purl columns. Knit 16. After you knit 16, purl 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Keep on following row 3, right side, all the way to the end, and I'll meet you at the end of row 3, right side. I'm at the end of row 3. Purl 4. I'm purling the last 4 stitches that it says to purl, and then there should be 1 more stitch. Slip 2 with yarn in front. Bring the yarn forward, slip that last stitch purlwise, and the next picked up I-cord stitch, like that. So slip 1, slip 2. You should have 157 stitches on your needle. Row 4, wrong side. Knit 2 together. Knit that contrast color stitch together with the picked up main color stitch. Knit 2 together. Knit front back. Knit into the front and the back of the next stitch to increase 1. Knit 3. Purl 16. Follow row 4 all the way to the end. You should be purling all of these bumpy stitches, and then you'll be knitting 4, those smooth knit stitches, purling 8. Follow row 4 all the way to the end. I just finished row 4. I did a knit 4 and I slipped the last 3 with yarn in front. Row 5 is a cable row, so get that cable needle handy. We're going to begin row 5 by knitting the first 3 stitches. Knit 3, purl front back, purl into the front and into the back of the stitch, like that. One more time, purl front back, purl into the front and into the back, like this. Purl front back. If that's tricky for you, just increase a stitch. You can do any increase. If it helps you to do a make one increase, you could do a purl one and just a make one increase as well. Whatever you need to do to make one. But purl front back is the increase. Purl 3, 1, 2, 3. Cable 8 back. That means we're going to work with 8 stitches, and the first 4 stitches are going to go to the back. Cable 8 back. So slip those first 4 stitches onto a cable needle and hold those into the back of the work. Knit the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then knit the 4 stitches from your cable needle. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Cable 8 front. We're going to work with these next 8 stitches. Cable 8 front. Slip 4 onto your cable needle. Hold them in front of your work. Knit the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then knit the 4 stitches from the cable needle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the cable techniques for section 4. Really easy. You can use a cable needle. You could also use a double pointed needle for your cable needle. And sometimes I even use a tapestry needle for my cable needle. Or yeah, you can get creative, use a toothpick and use anything. But the cable needles I really like because they hold the stitches nicely with that little dip in the cable needle. That was cable 8 back, cable 8 front, purl 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, cable 8 back. Slip 4 stitches onto a cable needle, hold in back, knit 4, and then knit the 4 from the cable needle. All of this that I'm doing represents the cable 8 back instruction. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I just finished the cable 8 back. That means the cable 8 means you're working with 8 total stitches. But you remember to only slip 4 stitches onto your cable needle. Purl 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and let me show you those cables one more time. We need to do a cable 8 back and then a cable 8 front. Cable 8 back. Slip 4 stitches onto the cable needle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold that cable needle in back. Knit the next 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then knit 4 from the cable needle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cable 8 back. 4 stitches go to the back, and then the other 4 cross over. Cable 8 front, same thing, slip 4, but hold it in front. 1, 2, 3. Oopsies, I have a purl stitch there instead of a knit stitch. I'm just going to fix that. So you knit 4 and then knit 4 from the cable needle. 1, 2, 3, and 4. those are the instructions, the techniques for the cables. Keep on following row 5 all the way to the end, and you'll have some beautiful cable crosses that look like this. I'm at the end of row 5. I just did the final purl 4, so I need to knit 1, slip 2 with yarn in front. Bring the yarn forward, slip that last stitch, and the next picked up stitch from the I-cord. So whenever you pick up that next stitch, you always go through both legs, and then this will be the next one, that will be the next one. So I'm just going to get that next stitch, slip 2 with yarn in front. This is the first one, that's the second one. Row 6, wrong side, knit 2 together. Knit those 2 stitches together, purl front back, purl into the front and back of the stitch. One more time, purl front back, purl into the front and into the back, and then take it off to increase 1. Knit 4 and continue following row 6 to the end. You should have 159 stitches on your needle. So those are the cable techniques and the increase techniques for section 4. Follow the instructions really closely, especially the cable rows like rows 13 and rows 21 and row 29. Follow the cable rows really closely because these big cables that happen with the 16 stitches are always the same, those 16 knit stitches. But this group of 8 knit stitches that follows this column, sometimes they go cable 8 front and sometimes they go cable 8 back. So pay really close attention with the cable 8 front or the cable 8 back so that you're crisscrossing the correct way. If you want to see exactly how the finished cables look, then you can skip ahead in this video to see the final section 4. And I would recommend that to see a visualization of what you need to be doing, what this section's going to look like to make sure your cables are crossing the correct way. But follow the rows closely and you'll be just fine, so keep on going for section 4. I just finished row 32 of section 4, and your cables should look like this. We have those beautiful antler cables and the meandering wavy cables. So make sure your cable crosses look similar to this, and I'm ready for row 33 of section 4, right side, knit 3, purl 9, row 33. Purling the 9 purl stitches. Once you reach your knit stitches, you should knit 2 together 8 times. Knit 2 together 8 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Purl 4. Keep on following row 33 all the way to the end of the row, and you will be working the knit 2 together into those cable knit stitches. So the knit stitches coming from your cables, we're going to be doing a knit 2 together. So I need to knit 2 together 4 times along this cable, purl 4. I need to knit 2 together 8 times along those knit stitches. So follow the row closely on row 33. I'm at the end of row 33. I just purled 4 and I need to knit 7. Knit the 7 knit stitches. Slip 2 with yarn in front, slip that last stitch and the next picked up stitch from the I-cord edge with the yarn in front. You should have 121 stitches on your needle, including that picked up stitch. That counts as 1 stitch. 121 stitches. You should have 120 of those contrast color stitches plus 1. 121. Row 34, wrong side. Knit 2 together, knit those 2 stitches together, Slip this stitch onto the left needle. Cast on 3 stitches using the cable cast on method. So I have that stitch on my left needle now, and I'm going to cast on 3 stitches like this. 1, go in between the 2 stitches and get the second one, in between those 2 stitches to get the 3rd stitch. These 3 new stitches should be on the left needle. Bind off all stitches using an I-cord bind off. Knit 2, knit 2 together through the back, like this. Slip those 3 stitches onto left needle. Repeat that until you have 6 final stitches remaining. Knit 2, knit 2 together through the back, and slip. Knit 2, knit 2 together through the back, and slip. Knit 2, knit 2 together through the back. Keep on repeating this I-cord bind off until 6 final stitches remain, and I'll see you at the end of this wrong side row. At the end of your I-cord bind off, you should have 6 stitches remaining, like this. 3 of them should be on the right needle and 3 on the left needle. We're going to reverse the order of these last 3 stitches, so you want your needle tip going through them like this. So we can break the yarn, leaving a tail about this long, and we are going to graft the 6 stitches together using Kitchener stitch. Place that broken strand of yarn onto your tapestry needle. 3 stitches on each needle. The needle tips are pointing to the right with the purl bumps kissing each other. Go through that first stitch purlwise and go through that back stitch knitwise. Now through this front stitch we're going to go knitwise off, go through the next front needle stitch, purlwise, leave it on. The back needle, purlwise off, knitwise, leave it on. The front needle, knitwise off, purlwise, leave it on. Back needle, purlwise off, knitwise, leave it on. And then go through the front stitch knitwise and that back stitch purlwise. You could go ahead and poke this end to the wrong side and you could weave in your ends. You could whip stitch that end through the I-cord if you want, or you could take that tail of yarn and whip stitch it through these columns. I'm going to finish my end weaving it in like this, really quick and easy. So that's nice and taken care of. And this is what the finished section 4 should look like. You have a beautiful I-cord frame, and don't worry if it rolls or curls a little bit. We'll take care of that later. And your I-cord edge should stretch a little bit. It shouldn't be super tight or super loose. You don't want it to do any extreme ruffling, or you don't want it to pucker because it's so tight. So it should have a little bit of a stretch. Beautiful section 4. Section 5 begins with the contrast color, and we're going to pick up stitches along this I-cord edge from the left wingtip of section 2. We're going to make an identical mirror image to section 4. So we're also going to work cables, but along this edge. So we're going to start by picking up stitches here along the I-cord edge. And we have 16 I-cord rows, 16 garter ridges and 16 I-cord rows. So counting backwards, I'm going to start by counting from this one, and I want to count to 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. This is the first stitch we're going to pick up and knit. So right here, I'm at this intersection where section 1 meets section 2, and I'm going into that I-cord stitch that rolls towards the wrong side. This is my first one. Pick up and knit 1, make 1, pick up and knit 3. One, 2, and 3. Pick up and knit 1, make 1 8 times. 1, make 1. 2, make 1. 3, make 1. 4, make 1. 5, and 6. 7, and 8. Followed by a make 1. Pick up and knit 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That fourth stitch should be the final main color I-cord stitch. If you're before that point or after that point, then you could either skip a row, skip an I-cord row, or you could go into the same stitch by picking up an extra strand of yarn if you need to get to this point. So I just did pick up and knit 4. I consumed all of the main color I-cord rows. Make 1. Pick up and knit 1, make 1 4 times. We're going to go into that first accent color stitch for the first one. Pick up and knit 1, make 1. Number 2, and 3, and 4. That fourth one should be into the first main color stitch. Pick up and knit 1, make 1 4 times. Pick up and knit 3. Get those next 3 main color stitches. 1, 2, 3. Repeat from the asterisk 3 more times. Follow this row closely by picking up stitches all the way to the end of this edge. I need to pick up and knit 1, make 1 8 times now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep on following the row closely, and I'll see you at the end of row 1. I'm at the end of row 1, and I just did the pick up and knit 1, make 1 8 times. That was the last time I did pick up and knit 1, make 1 8 times. Now I need to pick up and knit 4. These should be the last 4 I-cord stitches. 2, 3, and that fourth one, you can dive into that final stitch like this for that fourth stitch. Slip the 3 I-cord stitches from section 2 with yarn in front. Okay, so the stitches look like this. We're going to bring the yarn forward. We need to slip these 3 stitches, but I want this one on my needle first, and then this one, and then that one. So I'm going to take my needle through the back like this. Do you see that? I'm going all the way behind all three of them like that. In other words, if you're looking at this side, you want the needle tip to go into this third one first, like that. And that's going to reverse the order of the stitches so that they continue and flow really nicely. Okay, we're going to leave the rest of those stitches from section 2 on the needle or on your waste yarn. We have 156 stitches on our needle. Turn to work row 2, wrong side. Knit 7. We're going to knit those 3 I-cord stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Purl 16. 1, 2, 3, 4. Follow row 2 closely, making sure you're knitting and purling correctly, and I'll meet you at the end of row 2, wrong side. At the end of row 2, you need to do the final knit 4 stitches. And after you knit 4 for that last time, slip, slip, knit the last stitch together with a picked up stitch from the section 1 I-cord bind off. Okay, slip, slip, knit. Slip the last stitch knitwise, and we're going to slip a picked up stitch like this from that I-cord bound off edge. So you dive from the bottom into both legs of an I-cord stitch. And we need to knit those two together through the back loop, like that. Let me show that one more time. If you hold the yarn in your right hand, slip, slip, knit. Slip the last stitch knitwise, slip a picked up stitch, insert that left needle into them like this so that you can knit those 2 stitches together through the back loop, just like that. So that's the end of row 2, wrong side. Turn to work the right side, row 3. Right side, slip that first stitch with the yarn in front. So the yarn is in front, slip it, place the yarn in back. Make 1 using a backwards loop cast on. Purl 4. Follow row 3 closely all the way to the end. We'll be doing some knits and purls, and on row 4 is also an easy row where you're doing some knits and purls. So I'll show you the next technique a little bit later, but keep on following row 3 and row 4. I'm at the end of row 4, wrong side. I just knit 4 stitches, purl 1, slip, slip, knit the last stitch together with the next picked up I-cord stitch, like this. Knit those 2 together through the back. One more time, the slip, slip, knit. You're going to slip that last stitch and the next picked up I-cord stitch. Insert that left needle so you can knit them together through the back loop. Row 5, right side, we're going to need our cable needle. So get your cable needle, or a double pointed needle also works well for this. Row 5, right side, slip 1 with yarn in front, place the yarn in back, knit front back, knit into the front and the back of that stitch. Purl 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, cable 8 back, slip the first 4 stitches onto a cable needle and hold in back of the work. Knit the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Knit the 4 stitches from the cable needle. 1, 2, 3, 4. All of that was the cable 8 back, working with 8 stitches. Cable 8 front, slip the 4 stitches onto the cable needle and hold them in front of the work. Knit 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and knit the 4 stitches from that cable needle. If it feels a little bit tight to you, it helps to have your needle tips really close to each other with the yarn close to the needle tips. Just be careful that the stitches don't slide off. Knit those 4 stitches from the cable needle. That was a cable 8 front. We're going to use the same cable techniques for this section, just like we did for the other cabled section, but pay close attention to where the cable 8 front and back occurs. Purl 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cable 8 back. Follow this row closely, and I'll see you later in this section for the next techniques. This is the end of section 5, the left cables. So this is what it should look like after binding off, after row 33. We have the same antler cables right here, and those wavy cables should look like that. Beautiful. So I just finished binding off on the wrong side. It's the same I-cord bind off that you did in previous sections. So it should look like this, not too tight, not too loose. And at the end of the I-cord bind off on the wrong side, you have 3 stitches remaining. I had them on my needle like this. And you can break your yarn. I broke that contrast color. And you can pull the yarn through those 3 stitches. So place the yarn onto your tapestry needle. You could also do a knit 3 together if that works for you. But pull them through the 3 stitches. And then we're going to seam this tip of the I-cord to the wrong side of section 1. So I just went into this last section 1 stitch there. So I'm going to seam my stitches along here. So I'm just gonna, there's no right way to do it. Just insert the tapestry needle, stick it through the contrast color, and pull it through that main color I-cord edge, and just do that a few times to make it nice and secure. Right there. I'm gonna go through a couple strands of yarn. Oh, that's looking nice. That's just going to make it look nice and even against the fabric. And I'll just pull it through once more. And then you can go ahead and weave in that contrast color tail. So I'm just going to do a whip stitch into the wrong side of section 5. I'm going to go into like 8 or 10 purl bumps. So that's enough, but to be extra safe, I'm going to weave in this end and whip stitch it through some of these knit columns as well. So that tail is not going to go anywhere. And you can snip the yarn right there, and this is what it should look like. So that gives a nice connection, so there's not a big gap or a big space. If you want that same tidy connection, you could also take a new strand of your contrast color, and you could do a little seam to attach this edge from section 4 as well. So it's not necessary, but if you want to go through getting that contrast color corner attached to the wrong side, I'm going to do this a few times, going through that contrast color and inserting it into the wrong side of the main color, and then just weave in those 2 little tails. So that's not necessary, but on section 4, you could do this to make that join really tidy and tight against the section 1. So weave in those yarn tails. You can just whip stitch them through the wrong side of that contrast color section 4. But that's what it looks like. I think it looks really nice and clean when you do that, but it's up to you. So that's the finished sections 4 and 5 with beautiful cables. All right, here's the finished sections 2, 3, 4, and 5. We have some really excited helpers today. Stitch, do you think we did a good job? This is what it should look like. You've got these short rows and these cables. If you broke your yarn and have some yarn tails, go ahead and weave those in. You can whip stitch those in to the wrong side and have a nice tidy beginning for the next section. But this is what it should look like. You should still have 76 stitches, live stitches, on your short row spare needle or waste yarn. So I have these still set aside. We're gonna work with those later. So 76 stitches here, 76 stitches there. So keep on going. I'd love to see your progress, and you can share that on the Ravelry MCal group and also on Instagram with hashtag twists&turns_MCal. So share your progress, and if you're doing this during the Mystery Knit Along in October, share a spoiler image as your first photo on Instagram. And you can do a multi-photo post with a spoiler image of your yarn or my face, and then the knitting as the second or third photo. So this is what it should look like. We have this beautiful curve, 5 short row wedges on each side. A beautiful long shape is starting to take form, and these gorgeous textured cables. I just love that cable technique. So we've used our cable needle. We've done this looping technique that I've never done before. So what else are we gonna do in the next sections? So stay tuned, and the next sections are coming up soon. And keep on going. If you're not here yet, try to get it to look like this. And don't worry if you're off a stitch or two. Always sneak in an increase or sneak in a decrease to get back on track. As long as it looks cable-licious, short rowy, and chevron-y, you're on track. So keep on going, and I'll see you in the next video.